Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please support me by subscribing and sharing my video. Hi, I've seen people share their stories here and I wanted to share my own. By the end of my story, I was left alone, used and broken. I feel sad, and I don't think I'll ever find the right person. May God judge me as he sees fit, this is my fault. I guess I was naive and too easily deceived. My name is Emily, I'm 33 years old, and I live alone. Sometimes I rely on other people to survive, and I support myself through less than ideal means, but no one truly loves or cares for me and I doubt they ever will. Yes, I'm a prostitute, and the real reason I ended up here is my own doing. I apologize to anyone listening, I know this is all messy and complicated, but I've been incredibly unlucky. If only he hadn't cheated back then. Maybe I wouldn't have been tempted to get involved with the local dentist, but all of this happened to me and I have to pay the price. Maybe I deserve this. If I had met the right person, I would have married him and spent my life making him happy. I used to believe in things like that, but now, I feel empty. I don't know how to find the kind of person I used to dream about. Oh, Emily, sometimes I reflect on my life and feel so ashamed. Anyway, I want to tell you my whole story from the beginning. Maybe someone will understand me. Maybe someone out there has a similar story. So, let's go back to the start. My name, as I mentioned, is Emily. I was born and raised in a small town in Alabama. Growing up, I didn't have many freedoms. Going out, having fun, making friends, these were things other kids could do, but I couldn't. Kept these feelings inside. I wanted to dress how I wanted, live how I wanted, and be free, but my parents were strict, and I was afraid to disobey them. They controlled everything, from my clothes to my friends. Every night I would go to bed and dream about city life, imagining I could be free. I didn't imagine becoming what I am today. I thought I'd meet someone, fall in love, and be with him forever. But life turned out differently. I dropped out of high school and felt incomplete. My lack of education made me feel like an outsider, someone who could never make it in the world. Growing up in a small town left me with few options, and if I could give one piece of advice to young women in similar situations, it would be to continue their education. It's your best chance for independence. Anyway, as I grew older, I spent my days helping around the house. My family had relatives in Atlanta who were well off, and eventually they decided I would be a good match for their only son, Michael. They arranged our marriage, and naturally my family agreed because of the money. Michael was quiet, almost withdrawn. I felt I had to pull words from his mouth. He was also bald, short, and far from handsome. But despite not being attracted to him, we married. After the wedding, we moved to Atlanta. Michael was content, but I wasn't. He couldn't satisfy me emotionally, and I began to feel trapped. However, there was one small relief: I could finally dress how I wanted. In the city, I met Sarah, our neighbor, who became my closest friend. She had a warm heart and came from a loving family. We'd go out together, talk, and she'd give me advice on marriage. I valued her friendship a lot. She was like the sister I never had. One day I had a terrible toothache and Sarah recommended a dentist in the neighborhood, saying he was very good at his job. I went to him, and he told me my teeth were in poor shape and I'd need to visit him regularly for a while. This man, unlike my husband, showed me attention. He would take me out to lunch, compliment me, and even bring little gifts. Over time, I became attached to him. Eventually, our interactions led to a forbidden affair. Michael was away for work for a week when the dentist invited me out. He was charming and very good looking, and I found myself craving his attention. I wore my best clothes, a dress that highlighted my figure, and he picked me up discreetly, away from prying eyes. We went to a nice restaurant, enjoyed a meal, and had drinks. Then he leaned in close, whispering, "Let's go to the hotel." There was a hotel right behind the restaurant. As soon as we got inside, we embraced passionately. He kissed me in ways I'd never felt with Michael. It felt thrilling, and I lost myself in the moment. That night, I felt truly alive for the first time in a long while, and I thought this was the happiness I'd been searching for. From that night, we continued our affair for months. I fell for him, and soon I couldn't stand Michael anymore. Sarah eventually discovered our relationship. She was upset and warned me, saying the dentist was known to be a womanizer. She told me he'd been with other women in the area and usually left them heartbroken. I didn't listen. I thought I was special, that he loved me. But, unfortunately, our affair didn't last. Michael eventually found out, and everything collapsed. It turned out the dentist was married, and when his wife found out, my dreams were shattered. Michael confronted him, and they fought. My life fell apart, and Michael and I divorced. Suddenly I was alone in a big city, with no support and no idea what to do. I couldn't return to my hometown, they'd never accept me back. Alone, I rented a small apartment with the little money I had left. When that ran out, I had no way to pay the rent. The landlord eventually came and suggested that if I couldn't pay, I could stay with him to cover the rent. With no other options, I agreed. That night was painful and humiliating. I cried and begged him to stop, but he didn't. From that point on, I felt my life spiral. I had to come to terms with the reality that I had become a prostitute to survive. But it didn't stop there. My reputation in the neighborhood got worse, and soon men from all over started coming to my door. By day, they judged me, called me names, but by night, they came to me as if they'd done nothing wrong. It was all so hypocritical. I started to feel trapped in this cycle, feeling that maybe this was all I'd ever be. Every time I looked in the mirror, I could barely recognize myself. I had become someone I never wanted to be, living a life that felt empty and humiliating. Now, this is my life, choosing who I'll be with, using what little control I have left. Sometimes I wonder if there's still a way out for me, a chance for change. Even with all I've been through, I cling to this tiny sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, if I met the right person, things would be different. Maybe I wouldn't feel so ashamed, so lost. It's hard to believe after everything, but I still hope that one day I'll be forgiven and I'll find peace. I'm not asking for forgiveness from you, but maybe just understanding. I've told you everything, and I know many will judge me harshly. But I couldn't keep this inside anymore. This is where my story ends for now, and I don't know what the future holds. So yes, Emily's life has been hard, but perhaps some of this was the consequence of her own choices. People have responsibilities to themselves and to others, and when you betray those who care for you, life often finds a way to remind you of what you had. Perhaps there are people who would give anything for a stable life and a loving partner. Emily, you had someone who tried to be there for you, and you threw it away. But we're all human, aren't we? And maybe that's why this story is so hard to hear. Please support the channel by subscribing and liking this video. I hope you found something here that resonates, and I'll see you in the next stories.